But when I first stood in front of that audience of American Ninja Warrior, and it's your turn, and you walk up those steps, and there are all those people, and the lights, and it's in the middle of the night, and the water is there, and the obstacle looks so different than you ever expected when you're right up there. And that's when it goes, oh no, why did I decide I could do this? I shouldn't be up here. And you can't let that jump into you. You have to fight those negative thoughts all the time.
When you were telling your story, I think the most common word that you used was can't. Everybody telling you can't do this, you can't do that. And obviously your response is to, well, maybe I can't do it yet, but I can do it, right?
Say that a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to really dissect and break down this mindset. And you and I talked about this a little bit more, and I'll tell the story maybe a little bit later of how you and I met specifically. But I think the number one lesson that I have learned over the last 2.5 years of me deciding to jump into this world, because I too wasn't an athlete growing up. I played a little football and a little baseball, did some martial arts, but I was not an athlete. Always been a computer nerd, always been a movie nerd. That's always been my thing. And the lesson that I've learned having jumped into this when I started is at the age of 38, now the age of 40. I've got kids, got beyond a full-time job, not a whole lot of time to do all of this. But what I've learned is how often I tell myself I can't do something. It's just this voice over and over. Well, you can't do that. Pfft, are you crazy? You can't do this. And I'm continually forced into situations where I have to prove myself wrong. And one of the first, just kind of the biggest aha moments, and it took maybe almost 6 months to a year to get here. But all of a sudden I asked myself the question, wait a second, what else am I telling myself that I can't do? Because I just realized I've been full of shit my whole life. And it just became this whole new world of, instead of thinking I can't do these things, it was, what else am I telling myself I can't do that I can take on next? And I know that you've experienced something very, very similar.
You are so right. We spend the whole day. You should count out how many times you say that during the day. I can't do that. That recipe, it has too many ingredients. I can't do this. Oh, I'd never be able to do that. We do that constantly to ourselves. It's that little negative voice that sits there, and we have to get rid of all that. We have to stop it and not say we can't, because we can. We all can do it. It's just, can you commit to it? Can you decide that you're going to do it and then follow through with it? And having a goal is the major thing, I think, in it all. And it has to be an attainable goal. So when I started doing obstacles, I took baby steps. First of all, there's a fear of falling, and you're going to fall all the time. So it's like, the first thing I want to know is how it's like going down a ski slope, right? You want to sit down in the snow and do the snow plow and sit down. You want to know how to fall correctly so you don't go barreling down the hill. And it's the same thing with the obstacle. You want to you know that you can land, if you're hanging high, that you can land down and be on your toes and come down right where you're not going to hurt your wrists. So you have to have that understanding of how to get out of your situation if things go wrong. And to fall, you have to learn how to fall correctly. But I also like with the floating steps, which are the angled steps that they have on American Ninja Warrior, and it used to be their first obstacle. They've changed it since. But what we did is we brought them in closer, not the standard distance. And I first looked at it and I went, it's at an angle. I'm going to break my ankle if I jump on that thing. So I tried just jumping on it and down and jumping on it and down, and then took one to the next step. And so I take baby steps. It takes me much longer to accomplish the obstacle, but I break it down and go very slowly until I can work my way up to moving the steps out further and, going with more confidence. Because once you decide to do it, you got to have a commitment. You can't, like, in the middle of the air go, oops, I don't think I can do this. It's not going to work. But when I first stood in front of that audience of American Ninja Warrior, and it's your turn, and you walk up those steps, and there are all those people, and the lights, and it's in the middle of the night, and the water is there and the obstacle looks so different than you ever expected when you're right up there. And that's when it goes, oh no, why did I decide I could do this? I shouldn't be up here. And that's, you can't let that jump into you. You have to fight those negative thoughts all the time. And it's funny, a lot of it is just nervousness. And we have discussions a lot of times, what is nervous and what is excitement? Because sometimes you can change your mindset to think, this is exciting, instead of like, oh, you know, I can't do this. And I think they did some kind of a thing with the Olympians where they took a poll, and the Olympians, when they looked about ready to compete, they said they were excited. But when you took a person like you and me that are getting up to go into a regional meet, we look at it as, I'm so nervous, I'm so nervous. And it's more of a negative connotation. So I try to like take my breath and focus on exactly what I'm trying to accomplish in that moment.